Welcome to a GBA ranking video. If you don't know what the GBA is, the GBA is a competitive Pokemon league. This season, 14 teams drafted 10 Pokemon each, 1 Mega per team, and they go at it week to week with the foreknowledge of what their opponents are bringing and go head to head in a traditional sports league style leading up to playoffs and finals matches throughout the season. This video is going to go through the teams and give you kind of a breakdown of what's been going on in the past week and the general season for them and where I think they stack up as far as power goes. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like, comments, and things like that to help me improve the videos, make them better. And if you have any questions or interest in the GBA, please leave a comment below. Check out the links in the description and go check out the other GBA videos. And we're having a lot of fun this season. That said, let's go ahead and jump right into the rankings. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and move the Pelpers up to number 1 this week after a solid little 1-0 victory over the LA Nido-Kings, who, despite not doing well this year, are still on paper a very good team. And John is putting up great differential numbers for the rest of the season and really doing everything in his power to clinch a playoff spot. And honestly, based on the outcomes of next week's match, we'll pretty much tell whether his conference, if the regular 3 are going, or if there's still a chance for, Danza and Cooper to come back and catch up. But John's really figured out his team. It took him a little while. He's had a couple of stumbling blocks into the season. But as it stands, it seems like he's got it now. And with the power he has, he's a threat. He's probably the number 1 threat, and that's probably why he's number 1 on the list. I'm dropping the Sharpedos down to number 2 this week. Tom lost. He lost to a worthy competitor. The Arizona Deoxys are still a threatening team, are still playoff contenders in their conference despite some mid-season stumblings. But it does make a statement that he couldn't beat them. And maybe the out-of-conference teams are his weakness, and since it's playoff times and ultimately the last match of the playoff should, in theory, be the best team from the other conference, if he doesn't show he's capable of taking out the other members of the other conference, then, well, what does that mean for your playoff chances? Granted, he still has to get to the playoffs, but he's pretty well set to do that. Like I said, he is actually the one to knock out at this rate based off rating and differential. If the other 2 guys in the conference that have a chance want to do it, Tom's the guy they have to hope stumbles, and he still might. I don't think so, but he still might. Maybe that number 2 mentality will make him hungry again, and he'll bump his numbers up some more and not lose any more out of conference matches. Number 3, Steelix. I couldn't quite move them up over Tom just because I felt like Tom's loss to Gubs was, a solid loss. It's a hard team to beat. I would say I was really impressed by Joe this week. I honestly didn't think he was going to beat Cooper just because Cooper has such a bulky potential team, and Joe is not a man of overwhelming patience. However, professionalism won out the day, and also Cooper didn't bring a bulky team. Cooper brought his offensive team. There is a little bit to notice in the commentary. If we watch Joe's commentary, he may not have prepared for this one as much as he normally does. Not full knowledge of what Cooper's been doing the past couple of weeks, just going off some of his early things from the season, as well as, messing up a couple of pokes and the things that they did. But overall, he just played well enough to win it, and that's all you really got to do. Still at number 4, still holding it down strong, the Toronto Maple Leafeons come off of a solid win this week. They put in the work, and they got results. It's just, they managed to beat in conference Milwaukee Saucebucks, who have for most of the season been teetering on the brink of playoff range, out of playoff range, and have done well with the team they've had, granted still carrying a little bit of dead weight, whereas the Leafeons may be one of the leanest teams out there. There is, I would argue they don't have any dead weight on the team. If you wanted to argue it, statistically, you'd be looking at things like Tornadus being dead weight. metagame wise, you might be looking at Crocodile being a little bit of dead weight, but when those things are your worst dead weight, you're running a pretty lean, pretty fearsome team. It's also good to see them spreading out the kills a little bit this more. Their early season victories were all carried on the back of a Mega Scizor, and I said in the earlier weeks that was kind of telling of their team structure and the fact that the team structure was a little bit weak and that it wasn't cohesively working. Now with the right trades, it seems like the kills are getting spread out more. Mega Scizor is actually not doing very much work at all, being death fodder a lot for the past couple of weeks. And while obviously that hurts MVP numbers and maybe a little bit of pride, it does just go to show that overall the team synergy and composition is there. And that's great. I think they're probably, definitely the front runner in their conference. They are not actually statistically the highest, with only a +2 differential because of some big losses, mainly the Steelix, running with that 6-0. But, that's still, they're still in there. They're still up there. And I definitely think you're going to see them come out very high out of the Kanto playoffs. The number 5 team is actually going to remain the Boston Red Sox again, coming out 1-0 over the Hawluchas. So obviously it's not a super impressive win for them, but it is still a win. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. Just solid spread out kills throughout the match. We don't have a video at the time I'm recording this of either side, so I'm just going off of the stats. And Hariyama going 1-1 again. The early season MVP beast now just kind of hanging in there week to week and managing to go 500, and that's still respectable and still is keeping him up there in the race. New trade Roserade putting in a kill, that's good. New trade Kiram putting in a kill, that's good. Nick's done a lot of good trades this year, maybe the most short of massive swings from like Kyle, Deathstroke, and Kote, things like that. I think he's actually probably still up there at 3 trades, and 2 of them being here. He's really shored up some, significant type weaknesses he had throughout the entire season, and it's a more varied, a more balanced offensively team. It's good for him. I think this is going to be a good year for him. I still definitely see him making the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see what he does when he gets there, and he's going after heavy hitting teams week after week. But I think he's going to do it. Number 6, the Arizona Deoxys, who are still putting up really good numbers. The highest differential in their conference and only 1 win behind the top 2 spots. And, 2 of their losses this season were both 0-1 losses, one of them being down to 1 HP, so they're absolutely still a threat. And it seems like Gubs has overcome that mid-season, tumble down the hill series of loss and is just coming back ready to win it, ready to make it to the finals again, and hopefully not choke like last year. Not too much to say, as don't have videos for this one either, but, Deoxys, always a threat, still a threat. Coming in at number 7 is the New York Yankees. I bumped them up quite a little bit here. They are actually, right there on the cusp of being a playoff team. At this point, they're tied with the Deoxys with 6-4 record. The only thing holding them back is the fact that they haven't been able to break a +4 differential for the entire season. However, like pretty much everyone in the Kanto Conference, they're still very much in this. If, they keep winning and the Maple Leafs and the Red Sox lose even by 1, they'll tie it up. If they can just get a higher differential and maintain pace with the Arizona Deoxys, that's going to be enough to get them in there. And I think Shady's doing really well right now. The insider information from being a subscriber to Shady Penguin is he's got another vacation coming up. That could be very good. It could be very bad. If he can get his matches in before his vacation, that might serve him well, as historically matches that he plays early, he has that momentum going for him. Historically, matches after vacation, he tends to have slow start going and messes them up. So it could be a end of the season choke if he loses the momentum he has going right now, which is really good momentum. He's playing excellent games the past couple of weeks, and he finally brought Vaporeon against the premier Saiyan team in the league. Still have not seen any Trevenant for the entire season. I hope he finds a week to make that work, but he might just be over it. But overall, good work for him, good gameplay, and he's still very much in this. Drop down to number 8 for the Sawsbucks, who at a +2 differential are, only 5-5 for the season, making them the lowest winning team with a positive differential. At only 5-5, breaking even. Still very much in this, obviously. It's that dead weight, though, that's a rough thing to shake. Also going up against heavy teams like the Maple Leafeons. I think they're serviced by the Kanto Conference being a bit more balanced as far as skill and team base goes. I still absolutely think they have a viable shot at this. They do have a little rough patch as they do have to go up against the hugely threatening Maple Leafeons again before the end of the season, but I think they have a couple of more matches that'll help them out, and maybe give them a chance to put up some better winning numbers with the rest of the teams falling off, and that could be enough to get them in there. It's going to be interesting to see if Steve can get it there or not. Number 9, the Utah Jasmine, on a loss that I really thought probably should have been there. Haven't seen a video from Cooper yet, so I can't quite say what happened there, what went on with the team, but he brought a very offensive team, which he's been doing the past couple of weeks, and it's been working for him. However, apparently this may have, also been the week to bring, to go back to the defense a little bit, same as last week. However, things just didn't work out for him. It seemed like on paper he had a very good structure. Zapdos should have been able to put in a lot of work. Unfortunately, Zapdos really just lacking that excellent special stab on the flying side. It's really unfortunate that there isn't a better, higher offense special flying type move than like Hurricane, stuff like that, which just doesn't work. It doesn't do any damage, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Cooper very much still in the playoff race. It's the gap is narrowing though, as he definitely needs at least 3 more wins to reach the point where he can tie and hope differential gets in. Realistically, he needs to win every single match for the next 4 weeks, and the top 3 teams, and at least one team in the top 3 teams, needs to lose every single match in the top, which is asking for a lot, especially when you realize just, how good those teams are. Granted, they are going to be playing a lot more inter-conference matches, so there are higher chances that they can, make that happen. Specifically, the lowest bracket, the San Jose Sharpedos, who Cooper plays this week. And, if he can start the ball rolling, get them down a loss, then John can take them out next week, followed by, maybe Danza pulling it out 13 and the Joe closing out the Sharpedos in week 14. Cooper's still got a chance. It's a small chance, but it's a chance. He's gonna have to hope that happens though, and he can get the win off of numbers, because right now that -7 differential is not sitting pretty. Next up is going to be the Hawlucha at, I think, number 10. I may have lost count of where I am, not quite sure. The Atlanta Hawlucha losing 0-1 this week against the Boston Red Sox interconference match, which has got to hurt. The Atlanta Hawluchas are the last place team in the Kanto Conference on stats at 4 wins, 6 losses. Still in the playoff race, though, just because the Kanto Conference is so ridiculously middling. And I don't mean that as a disparaging comment based on anyone's skill or anything. I just mean all of their stats are right there in the middle. He's only 3 games behind the number 1 team, whereas the disparity in the Johto Conference is 6 games behind. So 3 games behind is totally doable. Actually, not the lowest differential in his conference, with the Thunderous at -8. Fortunately, the Thunderous are also in an uphill battle to get into a playoff spot, so I'm not sure that's going to help. But when you look at it, the Maple Leafeons are only at a 2 differential. So, if he could somehow catch up to them, keep up with them, the Haluchas are still in this. Rough loss this week, as they did have a reasonably threatening team against the Boston Red Sox. Again, no match up for them at this point. But it seems like he did a good job of spreading the damage around and making it a close match. Just wasn't quite there necessarily. Hopefully he can keep this up and keep the differential losses low, or, more optimally, just not lose any more matches and sneak into the playoffs. But it's going to be rough. Number 11, Nido Kings, losing to the New Orleans Pelicans this week. It was a pretty good match. It was actually a lot closer than I probably would have thought it was going to be, which is just more based off the history of what's been happening this season than, individual skill. I think Crobat for the win. Danza's a great battler. It just hasn't quite been his season. However, still managing to do a lot of really good work, and he's done a very good job of teching obscure moves onto his sets, maybe not balancing out all of his sets as well, maybe not bringing the right things the right week. It's hard to tell when you start trying to overcoach things hypothetically. It gets a little intense. But he has done a really good job of just teching random things, like teching the extreme speed on the Raikou is great, match that with a couple of random hidden powers throughout the season. And Danza is, isolating some weaknesses and throwing some surprises out there, just hasn't been able to put it all together and really pull out that cohesive win yet, which is unfortunate. Still in it, unfortunately, Danza does have to win every single match for the rest of the season, as well as have one of the top 3 teams lose every single match just to tie, at which point he needs to come out ahead on differential, which at -7 is not going to be easy. It's possible. It could be the comeback story to sneak into the playoffs of the season, but right now the picture is not looking great for him. Number 12 is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are actually, like I've said in another part, statistically higher than the Atlanta Haluchas, but their games just seems to be falling apart, especially with a negative differential, which in the -8 differential, I should specify, especially in the Kanto Conference, where playoff spot very likely to come down to differential. It might not, but right now there's such a very close race with 2 teams at 7-3, 2 teams at 6-4, 2 teams at 5-5, that it very well might come down to differential. And big wins have not been the story of the Thunderous. It's been close wins and big losses for them throughout the season. And, it just might not be enough. You got to hope it is, and it could be. Might not be. Rough loss this week, but Shady has a team that can counter the Thunderous incredibly well if he brings the right things. Last time, Shady didn't bring the right things. This week, he very much did, and that was enough to get him a win. Alex has some rough matches coming ahead from him, and, again, that insider information, if you don't know, Alex is moving right now a fair amount of the way across the country, at least through different time zones. And, that's one of those life things that's going to complicate things, going to make it a little bit harder for him to pregame as much as a lot of the other teams. I still think he's capable of it. I think he's a great battler, and he's still got a chance at this, but I think he probably has the most uphill struggle in his conference right now. Okay, I'm going to do something a little bit different for this week. I'm not going to do individual breakdowns for the Escavalier and the Grand Bulls, despite the Grand Bulls coming off with their first win of the season. Congratulations, Kyle. You played better than Nexus, which is kind of all there is to it. Nexus didn't play as well. He wants to cite it coming down to a hydro pump miss. There's actually a great post in his comment telling him a lot of reasons why that's not the only thing that didn't go his way. He didn't make all of the right plays, and that's unfortunate. Solid battler, but sometimes you think things went away they necessarily didn't. But that being said, I'm not doing a separate segment for those two anymore, and I'm going to try this out for the rest of the season because it's going to help me lower my workload a lot. And these two are statistically out of the playoffs. There is absolutely no way, even if both of them win every single game for the rest of the season, that they can make it into the playoffs. The only way they can make it into the playoffs is if if three teams above them all manage to get sick or banned from the GBA somehow, which is going to be pretty impossible at this point. There's no way they can make it in the playoffs, so I don't really feel like there's a need to remind everybody that they're at the bottom of the list every week. There's not really a reason for them to be hungry outside of personal pride, which just comes down to how hungry they want to be. They should be hungry. They should want to get some more wins under their belt. They should play the best of their ability every week, but there's no point in saying who's good, who's bad, or who plays well, who played bad that week, I should say, as everybody in the league is good, when you consider statistically they cannot make the playoffs. I hope everybody's okay with this. As over the next 4 weeks, I'm probably going to drop out any other teams who statistically can't make it. I think most of which is going to be Johto Conference, as they're the only ones with a clear differential line. But it's just going to help me lighten up my workload a little bit. So I hope you guys are okay with that. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and go on to predictions. All right, heading into the predictions. Week 11, we're starting off with the Grand Bulls at Pelipers. I think the Pelipers are probably going to take this one. Even though Kyle has strengthened his team up a ton, he does have some pretty good gimmicks. I don't necessarily think that a Sun team is going to present a problem to a team whose really only significant weakness is lack of water resist, and who has, as Joe lovingly refers to it, Smogon Bird, Talonflame, to really, take advantage of that Sun if he decides to bring it. Probably going to be a fairly decent win for them. Next up is the LA Nido Kings at Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to give this one to Danza and the Nido Kings. I think he's just got a better team. He's been playing better this season, even though he is not the most winningest coach. But he's just been playing better. He likes to tech weird, fun things, and I think Nexus will probably not, specify and bring things to counter that. I don't think he's going to tech any weird, obscure coverage move on Rhyperior or, run HP Electric on Moltres or anything like that. I think Dan's going to put in the little bit of extra work he needs, and he's going to win because of it. Next up is the Sawsbuck at Thunderous. Going to give this one to the Sawsbucks. Despite the dead weight, they're just having a better run right now than the Thunderous. I think the Thunderous have the team to put in a good effort. I think Magnitude has a little bit of the coaching edge as far as experience, knowledge, prediction game, whereas Alex actually might have a stronger sense of fundamental gameplay. But, at this point, probably going to be the Sawsbucks game. Atlanta Hawlucha at Arizona Deoxys. It's unfortunate. I love the Hawluchas. I want to see them do well. I don't think this is going to be their week. I think the Deoxys just have way too solid of a team and are going to have a fairly decent time running through them with little to no effort. Next up is the Pittsburgh Steelix and Boston Red Sox. This is going to be a good match right here. This might be the most anticipated match of the week from my point of view. It's going to be interesting to see who wins this one. I'm probably going to give a slight edge to Nick on this one. I think he's got a lot more time to mentally game plan and prepare for this one. Rough things going on in both of their worlds right now, but I think the Red Sox may have a slight edge as far as team composition thanks to some of their trades. It's going to be interesting to see if they both bring, the things they traded in Tangrowth and Roserade, as Nick has a fair advantage right there. However, they might not bring either of them at all, deciding they don't do much work for their team. But that Regenerator core for the Steelix is a very nice thing. However, like I said, I'm going to give this one to the Red Sox, a very slight win. I think it'll actually help out a lot of the Johto Conference teams get a chance to catch up if they do, and maybe give Nick a little bit more of a lead going into their conference. Next up, inter-conference match. Same conference. Toronto Maple Leafs at New York Yankees.
Word on the grapevine is Kote's got a pretty decent plan. It's a very simple plan, but it might just be a plan good enough to work. Word on the street is the Yankees are still hungry and coming at this, and they've been doing good work the rest of the week. You know, they're not the team that's going to tech weird things or run specialized EVs. Shea just doesn't really seem to have that much time to put into it and gen things like that every single week, but he just comes out with solid fundamental gameplay. That's kind of the story for a lot of the Kanto Conference teams. It's definitely the story for the Yankees. I'm going to give the edge to the Leafeons, as I think Kote has really stepped up his game and improved a lot throughout the season. If you don't know, you should go check out his channel because he has started going back and posting the matches that he's missed throughout the season. He was playing them all and recording them all and doing commentaries for them just because of life and everything like that. He couldn't quite get them up on a weekly schedule, but he is now trying to catch up and should hopefully be caught up maybe by the time this match is supposed to go up on Sunday, or at least by next week, I would imagine. Last match of the week is the Utah Jasmine versus the San Jose Sharpedos. I believe this is a rematch, of a Week 5 match when the Sharpedos and the Jasmine went at it on each other. And the Sharpedos just have the power to break through that team, especially if they stick with what they've been doing and run a more offensive team. I think, they might have to go back and really kind of reassess that. However, the bulky team didn't really work for him with Kiram and Mega Charizard Y putting in a major hurting for the Jasmine in the Week 5 match that they did before. I don't think Cooper's going to run the same, I don't think Cooper's going to lose the same way twice. He might still lose. He probably will still lose. I'm going to put my money on the Sharpedos. But at the very least, I don't think you're going to see a Mega Charizard Y decimation like he did last time. And I think Cooper's going to try and do his best to keep it a much smaller win. Anyways, that's going to be everything I've got for this week. Sorry if it seems a little bit short or rushed in parts. My life's getting a little bit busier as the season ends, which is yet another reason why I'm probably going to try and shorten these down and start dropping teams as they are eliminated from playoff contention. Let me know what you think about that. I'm probably going to have to do it anyways just for time management, but it would still be nice to hear your feedback on that. I also may use this to work up some ideas to restructure for if I do these videos next season. Leave a comment on your predictions for who you think is going to win next week's matches. Let me know who you think is going to make it out of the Kanto Conference in the top 3 spots. I feel like that's a really good discussion topic that we can get some things going. Other than that, leave a like on the video. It helps them get popularity and show up in search feeds and things like that. And have a good week.